we got to get into the Roto World player news because we have plenty of it today. Starting with the Bucs getting not just Jalen McMillan back at practice, but welcome back Mike Evans. Mike Evans absolutely drinks for free today. It's great for an early return. We'll see ultimately when he is activated here, Jay, officially for a game. But this is a big shakeup in the Tampa Bay wide receiver room.
Yep, absolutely. Great to get Mike Evans back. The 1,000-yard streak likely comes to an end, but great to have him back as the Bucs push for the glorious NFC South. Seems like he's been medically cleared. The clavicle seems like it's in better shape than expected. He's ahead of schedule. Jalen McMillan back as well. It's a very interesting pass-catching room now because Buka, as we've talked about and as we're going to get to, has really tailed off. He's getting a lot of targets, not really doing much with them. The catchable, converting the targets into catches has not worked out well. Chris Godwin had some moments as well.
Right.
So now you go from a couple of weeks ago, it was Buka and not much else. And now you've got potentially 4 to 5 viable pass-catching options. So how it shakes out, I still when Evans is right and fully and healthy and ramped up, I think that he'll be the number one pass catcher in the offense. Still have a Buka above Godwin until we see some more sustained performance from Godwin. But I think it just creates more uncertainty. And I think, Matthew, this just kind of builds upon Buka trending in the wrong direction in terms of his value.
Yeah, I mean, although the argument, though, the counter to that, Jay, is just that Buka actually probably was at his most productive at the beginning of the year when Evans was healthy. Evans played the first 3 weeks, drew a 29% target share. Like they were looking for him a decent amount. Didn't translate into massive fantasy production because there weren't a lot of touchdowns, just 11.3 fantasy points per game. He was outside the top 30 on a points per game basis. But the fact of the matter is I see this full shot and yeah, welcome to the beautiful amenities of right there.
Nice.
So I probably could have cleared that out before we started the show. Sorry, guys.
It could have been worse.
They're laughing. Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Could have been. Anyway, but specifically about Mike Evans, I think I'm going to say remains to be seen. I think this is ultimately good news for Baker Mayfield. We're going to talk about him a little bit later in the show, and I think as teams are in the fantasy playoffs and as the Bucs ramp up, getting Evans back, I will say it's worth seeing if Mike Evans is available in your league. He's out there in about 30% of leagues. I looked at all my leagues. He was out there in about 2. He's not available in our league because, of course, I dropped him thinking he was out for the year and desperately needing the IR spot to try to manipulate my way back into the race, and we'll get to that in a second as well. But so yeah, RotoPat, of course, picked him up in our league as well. But he is out there in a handful of leagues, I think, especially leagues where there's short benches. So I think, listen, once Evans comes back, I think he's an immediate starter because he's Mike Evans. And I think it remains to be seen if there's a drop in Buka's production. I think he's too good for it to get much worse than it has been, right? I mean, I don't know, for me. So I'm going to say remains to be seen as if this is bad or potentially a positive for Buka.
Yeah. Matthew will likely not make the playoffs in the League of Arseholes, but his spirit or ghost will live on in the entities of Mike Evans and Jane Daniels, potentially on playoff teams after he dropped them.
Yeah, for future assets.
Yeah, for future assets in a redraft league.
We're rebuilding. We're in a rebuilding year, obviously. Yeah, absolutely.
Another bit of news here, guys. The Browns designated quarterback Deshaun Watson for return to practice. Is there any fantasy relevance here, Matthew, even if it's beyond the scope of Watson himself?
No.
Okay, noted.
I think that's a fair response.
No. When was the last? We have not seen Deshaun Watson be usable for fantasy outside of the Houston Texans. And that was many, many years ago.
Yeah.
There were at his best with the Browns, he was like QB 15. He was a mid-tier QB2 because he was running a little bit, back then. And the Browns feel like a mess. I don't know if Kevin Stefanski, 2-time Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, not everyone knows that he won that second award, but he did. I don't know if 2-time Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, is back with the Browns. Feels like maybe, a fresh start for all involved. I think Stefanski's a good coach, but it's just such a tough scene in Cleveland, and I can't imagine anyone starting Deshaun Watson this year. I'll give you just one example, and then we move off of this. I'm in a very deep dynasty league. Producer Damien is in that league with us as well. It's a 2-quarterback superflex league. So it's a 12-team, 25-man roster superflex dynasty league, where and this week on waivers, Trey Lance went for $16. We have $100 fab in this league. Trey Lance went for $16. Deshaun Watson went for $3. Just to give you an idea,
right.
Like, and it's all, and that's a dynasty league that Damien and I are in with, like Field Yates and Mike Clay and Stephon Yabel, and like all of our old ESPN colleagues and friends, Daniel Dopp, and a lot of the producers that we worked with at ESPN as well. It's a very competitive, smart league, and the fact that Watson was out there and literally went for $3 this week, I think tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like, oh man, I should have bid 4. I was just like, whatever.
Yeah, as it pertains to his value for this season, I mean, it's a parlay that needs to hit. 1, he needs to actually be healthy enough to be able to play.
Right.
2, he needs to be able to supplant Shedeur Sanders as the starter. And then 3, he needs to have to play at a level that he hasn't played at in 5 years. So, like, the odds of that parlay hitting are pretty astronomical. So I think it's largely irrelevant for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, the Browns don't always make the right decision, but they need to take the low-hanging fruit and see what they have in their young quarterbacks. You're getting nothing from watching Deshaun Watson play this year, but Shedeur Sanders, you'd like to see what he could do, just like they gave Dylan Gabriel some run as well. All right, guys, the next bit of news, talk about goes from the past here. The Steelers claim Adam Thielen on waivers, Jay, after a trade that did not work out, bringing him back to Minnesota. He's released. The Steelers looking for basically any warm bodies in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, I think, look, here's the thing, is that the Vikings gave up real stuff for Adam Thielen. And if he could play, I think he would have been out there.
That's exactly right.
So that is a bad indicator. Now, I understand that there's not a lot of competition in terms of the wide receiver room for the Steelers. When we look at, DK Metcalf has had an underwhelming season relative to expectations. Calvin Austin's been injured and hasn't done much when he's been out there. But the problem is that it's very likely that Adam Thielen doesn't have a lot left. He's going to be, at absolute best, the number 2 wide receiver in this offense behind DK Metcalf. And then he's in an offense with a suspect quarterback, a team that loves to run the ball, a team that has an infatuation with throwing to tight ends. So in what world does Adam Thielen return fantasy value, even as a desperation flex type? I'm not sure. The Steelers, they claimed him for a reason to give him a shot, but I think he is much more in the kind of Robert Woods phase of his career than being able to be fantasy relevant.
Yeah.
I have a slightly contrarian take here, Jay. I think you're likely right in terms he's unlikely to produce fantasy value unless you're sort of in a deep league. But I do think that I hold out a flicker of a hope that maybe in a deep league that he could potentially be usable if in a full PPR league. And the idea that he's completely done and sort of to your point, the Bobby Trees version of his life at the moment, I'm not convinced that's the case. It might be, but in terms of Minnesota, he asked for his release. I think he saw the writing on the wall, which is this is a passing game that is not really going anywhere. They can't get the ball to, I don't know that we can judge Adam Thielen's, doneness or not based on the Minnesota passing game. Justin Jefferson isn't doing anything in Minnesota these days, right? Neither is Jordan Addison. So it's hard to say Adam Thielen's done because he wasn't able to get anything done with the Vikings. He asked for his release from the Vikings, a longtime player, fan favorite. They love him there. I think they know there's not enough passing volume to go around. So they graciously said, sure, you can, go sign with a team. I think Thielen was hoping to be, picked up by a Super Bowl contender. I'm not sure that the Steelers are, but when you think about this Steelers offense, you're absolutely right. Does it produce a lot of fantasy points for wide receivers? It doesn't, right? They're 32nd in the NFL. There's no team in the NFL worse than the Steelers in wide receiver target share. They just don't throw a lot as well, and there's been only 3 times this entire year that a Pittsburgh wide receiver not named DK Metcalf has even scored 12 fantasy points in a game. So I get all that, but I just sort of think here's Aaron Rodgers who likes to throw it short, who likes to get rid of it quickly, and you've got a veteran slot receiver who's going to be near the line of scrimmage. And could you see some PPR cheat code, old school Wan'Dale Robinson type production, not the touchdowns, but just literally, 7 for 40 yards kind of production from Adam Thielen, some Zach Ertz type production, if you will, from Thielen, just because he's a veteran, Rodgers is a veteran. They'll have a quick shorthand. I'm not rushing the waiver wire to pick him up. I did grab him in that same dynasty league I just mentioned, 12 teams, 25-man rosters, because there's like no one. I'm like, well, maybe. You never know. Who knows? Maybe down the stretch there's something, But so I just, again, I'm not ready to say Adam Thielen's done, I guess is my way of saying it. And I do think there's the slimmest of chances that Thielen provides some, scammy PPR, production in a deep league.
Okay.
Down the stretch.
So note it for the record that Matthew Berry has attached his good name to Adam Thielen. Look, I get all that, and I get the J.J. McCarthy aspect. My only pushback would be, we can move off Adam Thielen. But
the chat cannot believe the amount of time we have spent on him and Deshaun Watson.
My only pushback would be
that
I get the J.J. McCarthy stuff. He also didn't do anything with Carson Wentz. And Wentz was able, actually, to put up some passing yards and give Justin Jefferson some value. Against the Bengals in Week 3, Thielen played 45 snaps. Jefferson went 5-75. Thielen didn't have a catch. So I think he's done. He may not be done. Maybe there's some fountain of youth in Pittsburgh, but yeah, I wouldn't be counting on greatness from Adam Thielen.
I can't let this segment go. So one more quick funny thing. This tweet is from Sunday from Seth Rorabaugh. Mike Tomlin will say something like, "We can't eat soup with forks. We need spoons." Then the Steelers will sign a 2018 Pro Bowler to the practice squad. This tweet was on Sunday. What did the Steelers do this week? Well, they added a 2018 Pro Bowler in Adam Thielen. And what did we do? We spent the first 20 minutes of the show talking about him.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.